Hi, Leo Dreger here. I just want to show you the basic setup of how to get the burp suite up and running. The burp suite is something that you'll use a lot in the web application pen testing world. And it can be a little tricky to set up if you're not used to it. However, you may find it relatively intuitive. So on the Kali Linux distro, I want to go over, click on Kali Linux, go down to web applications, and then web application proxies, go ahead and select burp suite, or you can just type in burp suite from the bash prompt. So burp suite will come up. And this is basically a two-part setup here. One inside the application and then two in your web browser, okay? So we got a little alert here. Hey, there's a newer version available, and that's okay. We're not going to update that now. I just want to show you the basic setup. So we're going to go in the proxying options and basically look to see that this is in fact set up. So I'm listening on my 127.00.1 interface 8080 specifically. This is a very important address under proxy options because you have to basically tell your web browser to point your traffic to yourself. Okay, so as long as this setting matches the one in your web browser, and that's how you have it set up, everything will be fine. You can do this locally or remote. Here we're doing it locally. So next I'm going to open up a web browser. In this case, we're just going to use iSweet, so that'll be more than fine. We're going to go to the preferences, and then we're going to go to the advanced tab, network, and down to proxying. Under network, advanced network settings, click on the settings and use system proxy, auto detected, or manual. We're going to do a manual. We're going to set this up to 127.0.0.1 and we're going to use port 880. These would be the settings that that you would want to use. Now, keep in mind here that I'm just telling to sniff my own local host here. I could use my IP address or the loopback address. Nonetheless, make sure that port 8080 matches. Then there's plenty of ways to trick the end user into setting up their proxy settings in this fashion. You could script it. You could do it through an update. You could do it through group policy. Any way is fair game. But once you trick them to basically pointing you as a proxy, you get to capture all of that traffic. Okay, so go ahead and click enter, and then go to some web page. So I'm going to go to www.leodreger.com. And you notice that it'll kind of freeze and hang out here. This is good because if it does freeze, that means then you can go back over to the burp suite and then you can see the intercept traffic on. So that means that my host or the burp suite actually received the request, and I can actually start evaluating that client traffic. So you can see a GET request was sent, the host, the user agent, it's coming from a Linux or an Iceweasel, specifically in this case web browser. It's accepting the HTML application or XML. The language is English. The encoding gzip or deflate, etc., etc. And I'm going to go ahead and forward that on to the next piece of traffic. And then you can evaluate each one of these, which is nice because if you want to do this slowly from a slow analysis point of view, you can. However, you can also set it to just forward everything, and then the end user won't experience the delay, because notice here what the end user would see. If we go back over here, okay, the page loaded it within itself, but the end user may actually be held up if you, for example, go to a large site like CNN, right? Notice it freezes. I go here, forward, and then CNN still hasn't loaded yet. And then I got to forward the next one. And then CNN probably still hasn't loaded yet. And then go to the next piece of traffic, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. And so in that case, the end user will definitely be impacted in the browsing experience. All right, so you'd want to keep forwarding these pieces of information. Also, keep an eye out for anything in basically orange or amber here. Like for example, I have alerts here. Basically, these have flashed twice since we started. The proxying request is going, so you can see the summary here, or you can keep going back in and forward and forward and forward. All right, so that's basically how you set it up. Then you can start going into the detailed analysis of basically what's this doing. So just from the two sites that I went to, so like leodrager.com, I mean, look, it basically pulled a directory structure. I can pull my favorite icon. You can see that it's a WordPress site because of the WP content. You can analyze all sorts of the parameters, the headers. If you want to view this stuff in hexadecimal, you certainly can see the actual code there. So even something like if we go back up here to like Twitter or anything that was referenced on the site can also be here. So Twitter, there was some Twitter. I found the Twitter account, Code of Learning. You can go to the LinkedIn profiles and see if you can pull any of the LinkedIn names. In that case, that's my first and last name, Leo Drager, or YouTube. Go to the YouTube and it's the Code of Learning. So I am ultimately pulling, I don't dare I say usernames or IDs or conventions that are related to this website. So it's a great way to kind of socially engineer the different conventions or points of presence or internet preference that a particular website's using. All right, and then you can go into other tools like spidering, using this as a scanner, setting it up as an intruder, looking at and setting different payloads. They have a repeater that's built into this, or a sequencer, or a comparer for different websites and things like that, and some basic options like HTTP or SSL. This is an extremely, extremely powerful tool, and we'll probably cover that with maybe later videos. But I just want to show you the basics of setting up the burpsuite. So you can use this for sniffing web application. I would use this in web application pen testing. I would use this in session hijacking. I would use this in man-in-the-middle attacks. I would use this in web application vulnerability identification, maybe even some exploits. So that's the overview of the burpsuite. Thanks for watching, and check out all of the videos in this series. My name is Leo Drager. Thanks for watching.